This is the dilution worksheet. It's on the same worksheet of the molarity that we just calculated. The only thing that's different between the two is that in this side, you had to turn everything into liters. You don't have to do that with this formula, okay? It can be in milliliters and that's just fine. So if I add 25 milliliters of water to 125, so the 125 milliliters is your initial volume. That's how much you started off with. So that's your V1, 125. Let me go through the formula really quick. M1, V1, M2, V2. The capital M stand for molarity. So that's the initial concentration. Where the ones are, this is the initial and this is the final. So with dilution, you're watering something down in a sense. So this calculation shows you need the before and then you need the after, okay, of concentration. And you need volume too. So that's what the V is for volume, and that's going to be in milliliters or liters. So let's finish this out. Okay, so you added 120, or you added 25 to that. So if you can imagine, this was 125, and then you add 25. So what is the final volume? Like, how much did you fill up the beaker when it's all said and done? 150. So that's your V2. And that's as hard as these get. Usually they give you an initial and they tell you what they, or the unknown. The other ones get easier on this worksheet. Okay. If I add that much water to, so this is what it started off with. That was the initial concentration. Okay, so the final is 150, that's our V2. That's how much we're filling it up. It says you added water to 125 milliliters of this. This is what it initially was. So that's your M1. So think of the ones as your initial. It's what you're starting off with. That's our initial concentration. And it wants M2. It says, what will the molarity of the diluted solution be? So if we added water to it, do we think that the molarity is going to be higher than 0.15 or lower? Do you think it'll be stronger or weaker? Stronger. We added water to it. It should be weaker. So let's plug it in. Okay, M1, we said we got 0.15. B1, 125. M2, we don't know. V2, 150. So I'm going to multiply this side first. I just type in my calculator, 0.15 times 125.
Bless you.
Bless you. Okay, so we need X, that's our M2. So what are we going to do next? How do we isolate X all by itself? Yeah, good job. Because if we do that, that's canceled, so we're now left with X all alone. That's a good thing, that's what we want. So we just divide these two. So our X is, so the question was, what is the molarity of the diluted solution? 0.125, or you could go 0.12 M, or you could write 0.12. It all means the same thing. It's a concentration. So our new concentration is 0.12. So it was weaker. By adding that 25 milliliters of water, it diluted it, and the concentration is now weaker. We'll talk about relationships, inverse and direct relationships tomorrow. Any questions on this? Well, let's do one more. So you do plug it in the formula. Let's read the question and see what we can figure out. This one, if I add water to 100 milliliters, okay, so we're starting off with 100 mils. Okay, so that's going to be our V1 or our V2? V1. And it says it was 100 milliliters of 0.15 molarity. So that's our initial. Until the final volume, well, that's nice. They told us it's the final volume. So that's V2. And generally they do. What will the molarity be of the new solution? Okay, so it looks like they added water. We started with 100. Then our volume of the beaker increased to 150. So let's plug this in. So M1, V1, M2, we don't know. You can put it as M, or if you're just used to in math using an X for a known, that's fine. And then V2. I'm going to multiply these two first. It gave me 15. And maybe it's easier for you to see if this is written this way. Okay, in math class, if you're trying to get rid of whatever's attached to the x, so you do the opposite. I'm just going to divide by 150 so I can get my x all alone. I have to do 15 divided by 150. Any questions on how to do this? So as you're reading the problem, just find what does it say you're starting off with? What it was the concentration you started with? As I'm looking at number 3, it says how much 0.05 molarity can be made by diluting 250 milliliters. Okay, so you have 250 milliliters to start. So that's going to be your V1, the 250. I'll let you guys fumble with the numbers and try doing the rest. I'll collect this worksheet tomorrow.